What's up, guys? Josh here, back for a different type of video. Admittedly, this is one I've debated making for a while, but I couldn't hold my tongue any longer. I feel like I just gotta ask, is it just me, or is UFC really fucking weird now? I'm sorry to come out and be real frank about it, but I've been watching MMA for almost 15 years now. I've been very upfront about this on if you listen to the podcast. First event, Brock Lesnar versus Alistair Overeem in the main event, UFC 141. I was a huge fan of the WWE at the time, and because of that, you know, one thing led to another, and I just started following along with Brock in that event, and it really wasn't the main event that kept me involved. It was the co-main event, Nate Diaz and Donald Cerrone putting on just an absolutely legendary fight, and you know, Cowboy flipping him off before the fight, and then Diaz giving him the payback before round 3, like... Come on, dude. Like, how could you not love that as a young dude getting into fighting? But here I am, almost 15 years later, and I feel like I am the last of the Mohicans. I feel like I'm an old man off on an island alone, watching the sport go from. I don't know what you would call MMA today. I say weird, but I don't even feel like weird is the right way to kind of describe it. You guys see it just as much as I do. The UFC feels less like a sporting league and more like an advertisement. Not for itself, but for basically anything else. They advertise for Power Slap. They promote influencers. They promote politicians. The fights themselves have become secondary more than anything else. They want to, at least this is the way it feels. It feels like the UFC does not exist as a way to get fighters over. It exists as a way to get companies over who pay them. And I guess you could argue that's the same thing for almost any league. You could argue because every league has advertisements. But I'm somebody who was watching back in the day whenever Dana got rid of fighter sponsorships. See, for those of you who are younger, fighters for years were able to have sponsors on their shorts. They were able to bring in a little banner into the cage with a bunch of sponsors on them. And then Dana, I believe this was around 2014, 2015, whenever they brought Reebok in, said, hey, look, that looks unprofessional. We're not like NASCAR. We're not going to have that. We're going to give these guys uniforms. We're going to go ahead and make this look professional, so on and so forth. And I really bought into that at the time. I didn't agree with it, because a lot of fighters took such a huge pay cut. But I understood where he was coming from. And I understand a lot can change in a decade. But you watch the UFC now, and they're worse than NASCAR. I mean, dude, there are more logos for, and to be clear, some of these companies are just ridiculous. I mean, what the fuck is hostage tape? I mean, what are you trying to sell to me? I mean, you guys did the crypto deal for, like, the crypto sponsored bonuses where fighters were going to get paid in crypto for, like, 3 weeks and then just dropped it, and then nobody ever talked about it again. Like, what are some of these companies they're working with? But you look at the cage now, and it is ridiculous. You see adverts everywhere. But again, the adverts aren't necessarily the problem. It's the way they go about promoting and showing almost anything in the modern UFC era. Look, I get that the internet has changed a lot over the last decade. Everybody's online. Every single person is online. The internet growing up for me was a place where you'd go to. You had to go to a computer. You'd sit down. And I understand phones were a thing growing up for me too. I'm only 23. I'm not that old. But like the internet was a place you would go to. Now the internet revolves around us 24/7. And because of that, the UFC's brought in a lot of these influencer types. And look, the Nina dramas of the world. They bringing in people like Adin Ross and Sneeko. And look, dude, I said earlier, I'm 23 years old, but I feel like I'm like a senior citizen because I don't give a flying fuck about any of these people. And if you look at the comment section for when any time like the UFC tries to bring in these people, UFC fans don't give a fuck either because you're not appealing to the 18 to 35 demographic. You're appealing to like 13-year-olds whenever you do this sort of thing. And it almost feels insulting to have to parade around the Adin Ross of the world and have them interview fighters while you're kicking out real media members in favor of them. And you see Dana White out there talking about, even recently, as far as, you know, like a month ago, being like, hey, there's going to come a day where we're not going to have a media row anymore. It's going to be all influencers. And that just sounds like who are you appealing to, dude? I guess I just don't get it. But that's just kind of one of the many things that I don't get about the modern UFC era. Like, and I don't know what they're going to call this era whenever it's all said and done. Influencers that are being brought in, it feels like the UC, and I don't have any inside information on this. Like, this is just judging based off of what I see. The fighters, they almost want them to be influencers too, and that is just mind-boggling to me. I'm going to use a guy like Sean O'Malley as a king example of this. Sean O'Malley, and I'll actually say this, I've seen the guy on this podcast, I've heard from media members who've interviewed him. Great guy. Seems like a really chill dude to hang out with. I'm not going to lie with you. I've seen him on his podcast. He seems fun when he's toned down. But in this modern era, he has realized what the UFC wants. They want him to do sketches. They want him to dye his hair crazy colors. They want him to talk shit. They want him to essentially be a carbon copy of Conor McGregor. Whenever that's not him. If you've seen the guy try to talk trash, it's just not him, man. Like, it's just not. Like, but they pigeonhole these fighters into this sort of thing. And because of that, the UFC arguably right now has never had more talent in terms of actual fighters in competition, but at the same time, there's never been less charisma and less stars in this modern era at the same exact time. Why? Because you're trying to get everybody to be the same thing. All the originality is gone. One of the reasons why I started watching this sport is because every fighter had their own little background. They would tell you their stories. They would make you care about these fighters. Now it's up to the fighters to essentially go out there and be like, hey, man, what do we got to do? Oh, I got to do another sketch today. Like, no, man, like that's ridiculous. You're one of the most badass individuals to have ever fought and to have ever existed. Even not even just Sean O'Malley. Take the guy who won the belt from him, Rob Dvalishvili. What does he do every single week? Sketches, because that's what gets over, apparently, in this modern era of 14-year-olds who watch the sport. Extends obviously into the politicalization of the UFC, which I can think could be its own video on even in itself. Like, dude, like I have Democratic friends, I have Republican friends. I don't care what you believe in as long as you don't put it in my face 24/7. And former champion Andrei Arlovski 1 minute for his final UFC appearance after 20 years in the company, but you're going to give Donald Trump a 5-minute televised walkout. Like, that's just insulting at that point. And it extends beyond that. Like, why does every fighter who wins have to go over there and kneel before him like it's some Kim Jong-un North Korea type shit, man? Like, it's getting weird. It's getting weird of it. And after UFC 309, where John Jones gave him a whole tongue bath in his post-fight interview, it just symbolized to me, like, okay, they don't want me to watch this sport. The influencification of it, the over-politicization of it. Like, dude, I just want to watch fights. I don't feel like that's a crazy thing, man. And, over time, it feels like the UFC has become less about fights, promoting politics or promoting influencers, and I don't know. It's draining. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'm at Josh Soundoff on Twitter, at Courtside Sound for all things related to the show. Hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know your thoughts. Let me know actually down in the comment section below how you feel. That's all for me, though. Peace.